So the flying is it gets really technical, but like there's a like in the first movie and on this one we tried to do base the movement or make it as realistic and as grounded as possible. So in the first movie we built massive rigs that were 300 feet long, and we would fly Spider-Man or a stunt double Ilram underneath this overpass in New York, and even the stuff that we ended up doing in the computer, we used that as a reference, because I mean the trick is like a human body can only take so much, and the reality of the physics of somebody flying through the air at the velocity that Spider-Man would fly through the air is sort of mind-boggling and impossible or very difficult to ask an actor to do.
Was there something that you wanted to see Spider-Man do in this movie that he hasn't done in your previous film or the previous Raimi films? Do you feel that pressure? Like, I've got to do something
Sure,
different?
Of course you do. I mean, that's the fun with villains, is like villains really are a foil for the protagonist, in that you want them to bring out some characteristic that you haven't seen in that character before. Mm-hmm. And that was that's one of the reasons why we chose Electro as the main villain, was to have him sort of have to contend not just with the physical aspects of such a demonic godlike force, but somebody who's he has to deal with him in a creative and interesting way, and those are always the fun moments, to get yourself into a corner, paint yourself into a corner, and figure out how to get out of it. And sometimes the corners are so interesting, but you really have no idea, and it takes a long time and a lot of meetings and a lot of spitballing to get out of that. But I wanted to do. I always thought like Electro was sort of even more than Spider-Man, was like the most fun challenge in the movie to come, because there's something so magnificent about and beautiful about a creature that can blend and merge with electricity in that way. And I thought that was something that I really wanted to explore. I mean, I have to be careful about aggregating plot points, because I don't want to. That was an adventure, because when I was a kid, I was always fascinated and terrified by somebody who could disappear. You know what I mean? And again, like this, the thing with Spider-Man, you're dealing with characters that are, Peter Parker more than most superheroes is totally related. It's so grounded, it's so basic. Like his problems, like he has to pay his bills, and he has to do his laundry, and he doesn't know how to do his laundry, and he has to do, like all these things that are the problems that I have, which are, really, really basic. But then he has to fight gods, and I like the idea of, I find it very interesting to combine those two worlds. What did you feel, again, without giving away plot points, but what qualities of Peter Parker do you feel Electro was able to draw out? Well, I think, weirdly, the most important one is to empathize with those who you don't want to empathize with. You know what I mean? There's this thing that keeps going. This is a weird reference, but there's this documentary called The Fog of War, which was about Robert McNamara, and it's one of the most brilliant documentaries I've ever seen. And one of the things that Robert McNamara was talking about when he was reviewing his life, he said, empathize with the enemy. And I think in order to solve the problems that that Electro presents to Spider-Man, he has to empathize with him and try to understand him. And I think that's something that was a challenge to bring out in the script. I think was something that I think is going to work really well. It's easier for the hero just to hate the enemy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like, and it's good. That can be fun too, But I think there has to be some sort of emotional component to the conflict with the villain to make it more interesting. So Edgar, you don't have characters in World's End, and I wondered if there was something about the design. I don't know how much you want to reveal about the story. I think it's clear from the trailer that these guys go back to their hometown to do a pub crawl and end up stumbling upon an invasion of some sort. The fights that you show are over the top. I mean, how much did you feel you needed to push yourself in order to come up with those things?
Well, I think the challenge with it this time, which is something that the actors were really up for, was because the film starts in a pretty naturalistic place. It's like, almost feels like a reunion comedy about these guys together, and then, it explodes into these action sequences. But what we wanted to do, which was actually very different from stuff I'd done before, was try and do them without kind of cutting, so that you actually you believe that the actors are doing it because they are doing it. There's no obvious stunt doubling. So that was something I worked with this great choreographer, Brad Allen, and we designed a way to do it where we could basically evaluate the cast members. We're very lucky that we had 6 actors who were up for the challenge.
And list them for us.
Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Martin Freeman, aka Bilbo. That's what he's contractually called now. Paddy Considine, the fantastic Eddie Marzan, and Rosamund Pike. So all 6 of them are in the action sequences, and all 6 of them trained with the stunt team. So we could do these sequences where basically, because usually in if you look at a 70s James Bond film, very quickly the camera will go behind Roger Moore's shoulder and it won't be Roger Moore. So we tried to design these fights where we're right in, I've just blown it for Alfonso. It wasn't Roger Moore doing all of those stunts. But so we designed these fights where we do them all in one sequence. Without giving too much away, another challenge was, and also I must say that the actors, were really up for it, because when especially because Martin and Simon are both 40, but when you give them that challenge thing, when you put it to them do you think you can do it? They go, oh yeah. So you have to kind of basically, make it a point of pride. So I like to say out of the 3 movies, especially because they're the oldest, I put them through the most punishing action scenes of the 3. And they really rose to the challenge.
What counts as a punishing action scene?
Well,
punishing in what way?
Well, you'll see when you see the movie, there's, they're doing all of their own stunts. And then another thing that was an extra sort of challenge, which it was a scene that I'd cut out of Hot Fuzz because it didn't really work. I had this scene in Hot Fuzz where they had a little fight with some teenagers, and it didn't work because we used adult stunt performers and stunt women to be the kids, and it looked terrible, and it just was, it's not even on the deleted scenes, I don't think. And this time I had this idea, and I said to the choreographer, do you think, this might sound like a crazy question, can we get teenage stunt performers? And he said, yes we can. So there's a fight in the film with the 40-year-olds versus 15-year-olds, and the 15-year-olds completely kick their ass. It's something else. So it was really that was a great thing to, and in fact one of the lead stunt performers who was 15 and turned 16 on the set was actually, he's a guy, he's a kid, he's a stunt boy in fact. He changed from stunt boy to stunt man during the shoot. He has a stunt birthday, it's like, today you are a stunt man, welcome. But he was actually Chloe Moretz's stunt double in Kick-Ass, dressed up as Hit Girl. Nice. So as a 12-year-old he'd been Hit Girl. So this kid is amazing. His name's Greg Townley, he's going to be huge. And actually, I just wanted to sort of keep pushing myself in terms of can I get these stunt performers to be in the whole scene, not just be the stunt doubles, they actually are in the whole thing. And Brad, the coordinator, said, would you let Greg actually read the lines for the scene? And I said, sure. And he was great, it's very naturalistic, so he's not only the stunt man, he's in the movie, he's one of the...
They're the actors.
They're the actors. And it just makes the fight scene so much more real. And this because you've got basically no doubles.
It's true. One of the in my movie actually, I was just thinking about this with the physical challenges of it. One of the most difficult, but I think one of the most rewarding scenes.